Well, once again, I'm welcoming all of you to our English class for class 10. I'm sure you have been following up what we have been teaching in the previous classes, and I'm very happy to be with you once again. At the first classes, it will be a little uncomfortable for you because I'm not your regular class teacher, but I'm sure by now you are used to it, and this teaching is going to benefit you a lot. And in the previous classes, we have already done 2 prose, we have also done grammar worksheet, and we have done the writing section. Please make sure that you keep updating yourselves with your book and also with this program that you are tuned in right now. And if you are tuning here for the first time, I'm Miss Vivakunyovile of Mount Sinai High Secondary School, Kohima. Today, I've picked up a poem from the poetry section, that is That the Leveler. That the Leveler is a poem written by James Shirley. If there's anyone who does not know about him or you have not heard about him, he was a poet who started with a romantic poet. And when I say the word romantic, I'm sure you have heard about this in your previous English classes, maybe from class 8 and 9. Romantic poets are the poets who usually write with imagination. They use simplicity of language, their imaginative ideas, and then they are inspired by nature. Nature-inspired works are called as romantic works. And when it comes to the literature, we know there are a lot of ages like the Elizabethan age, the Victorian age, the Romantic age, and so on. We will not be discussing all those ages right now, but for us, we have to know what is a Romantic age here, because our poet started his initial work with a romantic poem. And here we will also find that he was converted to Catholicism in the later part of his life, and then he also taught as a school teacher. Finally, he put himself into writing. He and his wife together worked plays, and when the theaters were opened, when I say theater, it will not be like the modern day theaters. You will see real actors coming on the stage to perform when there were no facilities of cinemas and cameras like the present day. For us, it's very comfortable and convenient because you are now at home, very comfortably sitting in front of your screens, watching other lessons that you have to learn. These are some benefits, but in the olden days, in the ancient times, things were not as easy as this. Imagine your favorite actor and actresses coming on the stage to perform for you. You will have to go get a ticket, seated yourself there, and then you have to look at the real actors right in front of you and not the cameras. That is what they do. He started writing plays for the theater. And by the time the theaters, maybe there was a time when theaters had to be closed down, maybe for political issues or for whatever reasons it is. He had already written 36 plays. Imagine. Plays are dramas. That means he had written different forms of things. He had written poems, he had written stories, and also plays. And imagine a person writing 36 plays himself. That is a big achievement. And he is considered one of the greatest writers also. And so these are the things that we need to learn about our writer, our poet, that is James Shirley. And our poem is That the Leveler. As the title itself suggests, that the Leveler, it has a lot of meaning that is going to be conveyed throughout the whole of our poem here. I repeat, That the Leveler. You know what is death? Every one of us will face death someday, and we also know how it feels when death comes to us. And by the word leveler, leveler. So leveler means to level up something. So the title of the poem itself clearly suggests that that is something that levels. We will go into detail later. So that is something that levels up everything. The title itself has clearly mentioned that it is something that equalizes. Our society consists of so many classes, maybe the higher classes, the middle classes, lower classes, or whatever. We have learned about that, or we see that in our daily conversations also. But we find that at the end of this poem, you will also get to know that that is the ultimate equalizer of everything. That is what we are going to learn. And you might have some very great personalities in your mind. You may remember some people for their good works. There will be very rich people coming at a particular generation, and then some people taking over them. These are the things that we usually see. We remember Abraham Lincoln, we remember Mahatma Gandhi. There are so many other great leaders, but not all leaders are fondly remembered. There are so many leaders, some may be very powerful, they conquer the world, but the world does not remember them fondly. But take the example of Mahatma Gandhi or Abraham Lincoln. Because of their noble deeds, the whole world still remembers them. The whole world, they have lived on this earth so many years ago. And then they are no more with us right now, but we still remember, and in some ways we also enjoy the fruits of their hard work even to the present day. So the poem is going to tell us about how important our noble deeds will be. And now, before getting into the details of the explanation, I want all of us to read the poem together. If you are there with your book, I would like you to turn to page number 22. We will read the poem together, and then we will again get back to the explanation part. Okay, if you are ready with your textbook, it's in page number 22 and 23. Page number 22 and 23. Okay, if you're done, I'm going to read the poem now. Death, the Leveler. The glories of our blood and state are shadows, not substantial things. There is no armor against fate that lays his icy hands on kings. Scepter and crown must tumble down, and in the dust be equal made with the poor cricket scythe and spade. Some men with swords may reap the field, and plant fresh laurels where they kill. But their strong nerves at last must yield. They tame but one another still. Early or late they stoop to fate, and must give up their murmuring breath when they, pale captives, creep to death. The garlands wither on your brow, then boast no more of your mighty deeds. Upon death's purple altar now, see where the victim bleeds. Your heads must come to the cold tomb, only the actions of the just smell sweet and blossom in their dust. James Shirley. That is a poem. And so, let's get to the poem now. I will not be explaining the poem line by line, because if I explain stanza-wise, that is going to be easier for you to understand, and that is the reason why I have opted to explain this stanza-wise. But before going to the stanza-wise, we will have to see the footnotes. You know, the footnotes that are given at the end of your pages. We will not be doing all the footnotes that are given in your book, but some of the things that I find you will find it difficult to comprehend or understand. Those are some points that I've picked up. Substantial. It's already emboldened there in your textbook. The word substantial means important. So that is a thing that you have to keep in your mind. If you do not know what is a scepter, scepters are usually a rod that are held by kings and monarchs. A rod that is embedded with jewels to decorate it, and that signifies power. A king, you will see a king usually holding a stick, a rod. In the simple term, you call it a stick, a short stick that is decorated with beads and stones and jewels. That is also a kind of ornament as well as a symbol of power. And you know what is a crown? Crowns signifies power again here. If you have the authority over something, that means a person with crown. Okay, let's consider the case of the modern day Miss Universe. If she has a crown, it adds more to her beauty, plus it shows that she is someone at the top. That is what it is meant by crown. And we will also see that the king will be wearing a crown, and also he will be holding a rod. Both of that signifies power. And blood, we all know what is a blood, but let me just explain a little bit here. We all have blood, we know that. But blood here signifies your ancestors, your parents, maybe your previous generations. Here it signifies that. And we also have some words which you will find it difficult to understand. Those I will be explaining stanza-wise. The first paragraph, okay. The first paragraph deals with the pride that you hold for your family. You know what is a pride? I'm sure we all know. We are proud of ourselves sometimes because of achieving some particular work. There is nothing wrong in being proud. Every one of us tend to become proud someday or the other. But holding too much pride within for what your family is or for what your status is, it will lead you to a wrong path. Here, the glories of our blood and state, that means the glories, the powers that you have attained. You may not be the person who had attained all those things, but if you have a good family background, in our situation, we are also proud of our relatives, of our near and dear ones who have reached a certain level. Let me not mention any particular post here, but I'm sure you have seen people around you that they are proud for what their family status is, for what the social status that they have in the society. But the poet here is going to make a very clear reminder to us that those will become powerless in front of that. He says that this poem is a philosophical reminder to all the readers, that is you also, to all of us who are reading the poem right now, that is the ultimate, it is the ultimate equalizer. It brings everything together. It brings everything to a certain level, no matter how high your status may be. And it is the ultimate supremacy. Supremacy means the power that it has over life. That is the ultimate equalizer and also the ultimate supremacy of life. We tend to be proud of the things around us, like I said, but those are futile. Futile means useless. It becomes meaningless at one point or the other. It shows that the great status that you have, the things that your family or your ancestral parents have attained, maybe you have a lot of wealth. There is nothing wrong in accumulating wealth. Please don't misunderstand me here. Just by saying that your wealth and everything that you have achieved will go away does not mean that you don't have to collect all those things, because those are also needed. But there is always a certain way in this. You have seen people who are so boastful about their village. Maybe one of their uncles is the first graduate, maybe the first IAS officer or whatever. In our context, we see people taking pride in the family achievements. But here, if you belong to a family, here we don't have the kingship system, but if you were to live in a place where the kings have authority, and then you also tend to be following that step, you have authority over the whole of the nation or maybe over a particular region, that gives us a lot of pride and confidence. And if you have the pride in the positive sense, it's going to be very good, but there are people who tend to take it in the wrong path, and that is going to be risky at times. So the family name that they have already earned, even if you belong to a very good family background, that is going to become meaningless. Like I said, the scepter and the crown, even if you are the king, or even if you were the king, the crown and the scepter must tumble down before that. So when that comes, even the scepter that has a lot of power when they were still in the hands of the king, when that comes, by raising that scepter or by using that scepter, it is not going to stop the death from coming to you. You may have all the authority, you may have all the powers that you needed on this earth, but it is not going to help you here when death comes, because that is fate. When the poor side and the when the poor spade and the crooked side comes to you, you have to bow down. The power and all the achievements that your family and you have already attained is not going to help you when death comes here. And in the second stanza, you are going to see. You will see that the people or the king who have conquered so many things with the sword, they might have killed a lot of people, because we know when there is a battlefield, people will surely die. You go for war. And so when those are done, we also see in the second line of the second stanza that fresh laurels are planted where they kill. Laurel, you might have heard this word a lot of times. Laurels refer to the glory that one attains. the glory that you achieve. Maybe you achieve something and then you get an award, a national award, maybe a state award, or any award from the school. Those are good. But sometimes here, laurel here is used to show the powers of the king. A king may be very powerful with a lot of army, and here, if they happen to conquer a particular place, they will plant fresh laurels there. That means they will set up their kingdoms there. They will set up their power. And this is a thing that in the olden days, the kings usually do. They fight for their territory. And this had been a trend in those days. And when all these things are done, the poet also reminds us again. Let us see. He is reminding us every now and then in every stanza that this is not going to help. They will tame one another still. Taming means to have control over. If you have a pet dog at home, you tame that dog. Or if you have any other animals, you also can tame them. You can teach them in a certain way so that they will behave as you want that animal to behave. So that is called taming, if you do not know. It's very difficult to bring a wild animal to your place and tame. So tamed animals are different from the others that are not tamed. And so they, as human beings, they are also taming one another, conquering and controlling one another in a still manner, and keep them still. That means keeping them obedient to their authority. This is something that the king does, the ruler does. But sooner or later, they will stoop to fat. Stooping, you know what is stooping? Stooping means to bend down. And so, no matter how powerful, you might have conquered a lot of territories, you might have achieved a lot of things in your life. But one day, a time will come when you have to bend down when death comes to you. Death will come knocking at your door. And then on that day, you cannot just say, no, I'm not ready right now. When it comes, you have to be there. You have to be ready. Or whether you like to accept it or not, you also have to face it. This is what the poet wants to convey to all of us. No matter how much you do, no matter how much you conquer, maybe you have overpowered a nation, you have overpowered a person. Or in our context, as students, let us consider this. You may be one of the smartest students in the class, or you may be the favorite teacher the favorite student of your teacher, or maybe you are the most popular among the group. Even if these are the qualities that you have, that is also going to end someday. We have heard of many great leaders. They are so powerful, but the day they die, they are made equal with everyone. So this is something that death does to each and every one of us. And in this second stanza, he also makes very clear to us all the achievements that you have been achieving in your entire life. It will be made equal. Everything is going to be made equal. Even the rulers and the conquerors are going to be made as captives. You know what is a captive? A person who has been captured by somebody. If you have seen in the TVs and the movies that there are captives, maybe a plane is hijacked, and so you are taken there as a captive. That means somebody has captured you and kept there. And so that is called a captive. No matter how powerful a ruler is, they will always remain a captive, or they will be a captive when that comes to death. They have to bow down. They have to give themselves there. And even in the third stanza, the poet tells us that at the end, everyone will have to, the garlands will wither on the brow, and we can boast no more of our deeds. And then now we have to submit ourselves when it comes to us. And here we can see the word, the purple altar. Purple also is used to signify the clotted blood. Clotted means the dried blood. If blood is exposed outside for some time, we see that it gets clotted. So this is also something. This is also something that the poet is trying to tell us. We have to kneel down before that, and we have to go to the cold tomb made equal. Even the victor and the victim here is made equal. You know who is a victor, I guess, and also a victim. We also have questions of to define victor and victim. So here, victor is a person who wins. May it be in any situation. If you are a person who plays sports, if you win, that you're also a victor. Maybe even in an argument you win, you become the victor. Victor is the person that passes or that comes out successfully. And then the victim is the person who is considered to be the weaker one. Maybe you failed in a particular competition. So this is called the victor-victim. So even if you are the victor or the victim, both of you will be made equal when death comes. And then you have to be on the altar, on the purple altar. That means that is just a personification of death. You see that. And in the process, the call to, see, you also get the same size of tomb that the victor gets, or you also get the same size of tomb that the victim gets. This is something that the poet wants to convey to us. And in all these, in all the 3 paragraphs, you will see that the poet is making some comparisons between the powerful and the less powerful, but he also ends every stanza saying that even if you are at a higher level, even if you are at a higher level than your opponent or maybe the victim or the captive, finally everyone will come there as a captive again. Even if you are the king or a pauper, even if you are the richest person or even if you are a poor person, as long as you live on this earth, you are on a different level. But the day that comes to you, both of you will have the same place there. And that is what the poet is trying to convey to us in this poem. We have to pay attention here. He wrote this poem at an age where you were not, at an age when you were not even born. But this message has been given to us very clearly, even to the present day, that our actions, our deeds, you may be the best among your friends here, but everything comes to an end, and when death, the leveler comes. It is making everyone equal. So that is why he calls that the leveler or that the equalizer here. We see that. He compares the victor and the victim. He compares the king and the pauper. He also made a comparison between the victor and the victim. The victor and the victim bleeds. That means even if you have killed somebody and maybe that person died ahead of you, but your time also will come when you will have to face that again. This is something that he's clearly conveying to each and every one of us. But the poet just did not end up there, because if he just ended his poem there, it's going to be a little disappointing for us, for the people who are achieving great heights, or even for the people who are doing noble deeds every day. But the last 2 lines he had given to us very clearly and in a very beautiful manner, that just and the noble, their deeds will remain like sweet smells. So that means you don't have to lose your hope there, because you have already learned that the poet says, even if you are a person who is achieving a lot of things, or even if you are a loser, maybe you will just continue to stay a loser, because you think, according to the poem, you think that even if I do a good thing or a bad thing, everything is going to be the same at the end. So if there is any lazy person, you will feel like continuing to be lazy. Or if there is any good person doing good works, you may even feel like giving up, because you realize that no matter how many things you do in your lifetime, everything will be made equal like the loser at the end. But he did not end the poem in that way. And so he made it very interesting to each and every one of us. Let's look here. It's going to be very beautiful. Let us read the last 2 lines together again. I want all of you to read out loudly, no matter wherever you are. Just take your book and read the last 2 lines. Only the actions of the just smell sweet and blossom in their dust. I repeat, only the actions of the just smell sweet and blossom in their dust. This is what he has given to each and every one of us. That's a very good encouragement for us. He says that we should not be disappointed to keep doing the good things, because even after you die, people will remember for the good works that you have done to them. People will remember the way you spoke to them. Maybe we see some people who are very rude in their way of approaching others. Politeness is something we also need to do. You may not have done a big help. You might not have given a big help to your neighbors maybe, but the way you approach them or the way you speak to them, maybe greeting them, or for that matter at school, being polite to your teachers. We teachers like to be greeted politely. Whether we express that or not, we all have that. And I'm sure you are also aware of that. And so greeting an elderly person maybe politely, at this age we don't expect you to do big things for the world, because there is always a certain level to help others. And so what you can do, your ability right now, if you make the best use of it, that is going to help you for your entire life. Just because the poet says that everything will be made equal at the end does not mean you have to stop doing the good things. In that case, everyone will get disappointed. But he had given a very clear message to all of us right now, that if we do the noble deeds, that means the good deeds that we have to do, all those things will be remembered even after our death. The difference is there. The difference here is that the person who always does good things to others, maybe you try to give a little bit of help to your classroom, to your classmate in the classroom. Maybe there is someone who needs you, or maybe there is a person who is always being bullied by friends who are smarter, who thinks they are smarter. They might not be, but there are some people like that. But if you see a person like that, if you give a helping hand, maybe a moral support to that person who is the victim, that means you have done a noble job. You have done a good deed. That is what he is talking about. And here we have seen that, to sum up the poem, let me just say, the first paragraph, he talks about our ancestral power, the status that you have in your society. When I say status, we are also concerned. Do not be worried even if you belong to a lower status or a lower class of society. It's okay. That is not going to matter a lot. It's you who had to work up now, who had to start working. That's important. Just because you belong to maybe a lower status in the society, you are losing hope. If you are that person, remember that even the highest of persons, let's take the example of the king. The king, and you will be made equal at the end, even if they have so much right now, or even if they have so much fame right now, if they do not do the good works that they need to be doing, that is not going to make any sense after their death, because they will go, leaving everything that they have attained behind. But here, one thing that I want to remind you again is, you have to be good, you have to help others, and think of all possible ways and positive ways that you can help. In the second stanza, he talked about the battlefields and the warriors, where even the victor and the victim will come together, and even in the final stanza, we see the same message in all the stanzas. And this is where we have to be encouraged once more. If you are there sitting disappointed and discouraged because you are not like some of your friends who had all the facilities, you may just be watching from a TV when all your friends have smartphones. You don't have to worry about this. The same lesson is being delivered everywhere. That's one thing that we have to keep in mind. That the most important message that the poet has given us here is that our noble deeds will be like sweet-smelling blossoms even after we die. That is what he had given to us. And with that, we come to the conclusion of the poem, but we have a lot of things to be discussed even in this chapter again. So, in a poetry, what you see is, you always see some poetic devices. I'm sure you have heard about poetic devices in your English classes. Your teachers might have used these poetic devices in some classes or the other whenever they teach poetry. There are so many poetic devices, but here we are going to discuss only the 4 poetic devices that our poet has used. The first thing that we see is a metaphor. Metaphors are words. It refers to words where, or it refers to sentences where comparisons are made. You know what is comparison, right? We make a lot of comparisons with our friends. Maybe even at school, sometimes even pens can be compared. We know that. Your friend might be having a very good pen. The next day you want to bring a better one than that. That is what I see in the students. Or you compare your gadgets for this matter. In this present day, you are so conscious of your gadgets. You make comparisons. Here, there are 2 types of comparisons. If in a metaphor, you will not see words like as, or like example, she is as beautiful as the flower. If you see a very beautiful flower, sometimes you also want to compare a beautiful girl with a flower. And so in that case, but metaphor will not be using as and like. It will just be like, her smile was a ray of sunshine. See, the smile was compared to sunshine, but we did not see the word like and as. We don't see the usage of like and as, even though there's a comparison, and so that is the difference. If you see the word as and like, that means it is a simile. So the same thing here, you also see transferred epithet. Transferred epithet just means you talk about something and bring some adjective. Okay, I have to explain a little bit of grammar here again. Adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun. Example, he is a good boy. The word good is an adjective. Here we can see in the first stanza that the last line of the first stanza, the scythe and the spade is considered as poor. So the word poor has described the scythe and the spade, and that is a transferred epithet. You also see personification. Personification means just presenting an object or something as a person, though it's not a person. Here we see the word death. Death is presented to us like a person. It's as if like he's a person walking straight into our life the day we end our breath. That is something that the poet is using. So these are some poetic devices that he had used. Or for metonymy. Metonymy is a word that uses, it is also a kind of comparison. Example, pen is mightier than sword. But here, pen does not mean that pen will go and fight with a sword, but it refers to the writing that a person does. So this kind of words, when an object is used for a particular term, though pen here literally does not mean the pen going and having an encounter with a sword, but here it refers to the writing. It is drifted away from the literal meaning, from the original meaning. So this is called a metonymy. So these are some things that our poet has used, the poetic devices. The poet, and the main themes here can be the futility of life, the uselessness of life, if we do not live in the right way. The futility means just vanities. You know what is a vanity? Everything becomes useless sometimes. You may be, see, in this period we are facing something like that. You may be having a lot of things that you are planning to use later, but when you're still at home, those things may not be useful. Let's take the example of a football. If you don't have a compound, buying a very good quality of football and the sports wear will not help you. It will just be like a decoration or maybe an extra unnecessary stuff in your room. That is something. And then we see, those are some things that we always keep considering. And here, we are also at home with all the books in front of us. But sometimes it becomes an extra thing that if you are not using in the right way, it becomes useless. That is called the vanity and the futility. And also he talks about the power that nobody can escape. The power of death that is presented to us by the poet is very clear. Death comes, you may be the most powerful person, you may be the richest person, you may own a hospital with all the good facilities, but when death comes to you, that will be, I'm saying that would become meaningless the day death comes, because that is not going to help. And he also talks about the life that a person lives. It has to be led in the right path, or else when death comes, everything that you have achieved would be just left in vain. So the first thing that he talks about is the futility and the vanity of life, and then the invincible power of death. So I'm sure you are clear with this. I want you, please, I'm requesting you to go through page number 22, 23, and 24. Because 24, you'll get some detailed explanations of the poetic devices, and also you get the exercises that you have to be doing. Please go through it, try to solve some exercises. You have a lot of questions. You have reference to context and even other questions. Try solving it. And if you cannot do that, also take the help of some elders or maybe some teachers. You can also contact your teachers through phone. I'm sure you are all in touch with your teachers. So this is what I want to request you. I believe that you all have learned this poem carefully, and please just do not listen to what we are saying, but also put yourself into practice and start solving the questions and answers. And with that, we are going to come to the end of our class. I want to thank everyone for being here. To all my dear students and viewers who have patiently listened to the explanation. Thank you.